Hello, my name is Ben Williams and I am a STEM and engineering instructor here at Cleveland High School in Cleveland, Tennessee. What I want to talk to you guys about a little today is how to start a process and open up a simulated process with a FANUC robot and a FANUC robotic work envelope inside of the software known as Roboguide. A quick note before we get started is within Roboguide there are a couple of different specific programs that are aimed at the different end-of-arm tooling or specific uses of each FANUC work envelope. These include, but are not limited to, Paint Pro, Handling Pro, ArcMate or Arc Pro, and so on and so forth. And so there really is a full-featured software package from FANUC in the Roboguide interface that specifically deals with each one of the potential setups and specialties that your FANUC work envelope will pertain to. Okay, when you first click the Roboguide software and you open, you will be greeted with a menu that's called the Process Navigator. Our Process Navigator is known as such because it gives you 9 steps from beginning to end to create a new work cell, and also all the way on the back end to create a video and share a working concept, proof of concept, or instructional video that you can use at a later purpose. As you guys see, it starts with creating a new work cell, editing properties, adding parts to the work cell, changing end-of-arm tooling, pick fixture, place fixture, creating a robotic program, running the program, and then once again, as I mentioned, a video tutorial at the end that would be able to record your process in your work cell working and export it as a AVI video format. So our very first step is you can choose to walk through these if you're a new user to Roboguide, and you can use the Process Navigator to walk you through and almost give you an orientation into the program itself. But that also is why I'm here in this tutorial, and so I'll walk you through it using our next step, which we will close out of here. Alright, so you're going to go to File first. When you first look, you're going to see the Roboguide interface, but not a whole lot after that. After clicking File, let's go ahead and set up a new cell. Now we have our work cell creation wizard that comes up. So this work cell wizard will actually walk you through how to create the most accurate and specific robotic work cell for your FANUC work cell setup. We're going to go ahead and click Next. For this demonstration, we're going to use Handling Pro. We're going to create a new robot from the default Handling Pro configuration, your first option here. We are also going to create our R30IB controller version, which will match our robot in the lab. Now, in this step in your work cell creation wizard, you're going to see several robotic models here. The closest that we can get is going to be our 1000 IC. So we're going to scroll up. Here we go, our R1000 IA right here. As you see here, you have a breakdown of the different positioners and aspects in the motor groups within your robot. These are all the different variations of the robot that you have. And as you see, you can scroll down and see all the different options that you have. And right here is our 1000 IA 100F, which matches our specific robot in our lab. Okay. Now this is an overall summary of the options that you've selected. If you want to make sure to scroll back through these before you click, then you are able to make sure and double check that you have the most accurate setup for your work cell. So as you see with our init start display here, is it will start scrolling, and you'll see something very similar on your teach pendant unit in your physical robot. You'll have a first time startup question that will prompt you. Standard flange, insulated flange, or solution arm. Our flange type is going to be a standard flange. Now before we go much farther, you can use inside of the Roboguide interface a keyboard, as in just your traditional keyboard peripheral for your PC, or you can also use a virtual teach pendant keyboard. So if we click our show keypad up here, and then we come down to TP keypad in the bottom left hand corner here, you'll have an option in a small tab. You'll click that, and now what you'll see in front of you is very similar to the teach pendant interface with most of your controllers and physical robots. So our flange type, we're going to go with a standard flange. Standard type of motion range, I'm going to go with 1. Enter. And then now you see that starting to optimize the setup for our first time teach pendant setup. After the setup on your virtual teach pendant runs its prompt, you're going to see something that's going to look very similar to the screen right before you. Your robot may differ depending on the options that you chose during your work cell creation process. This looks pretty similar to the one we have in our lab. So, within this 3D realm, there are a couple of options on how to navigate through this virtual world that we've created, or this virtual work cell that we've created for our Fanic robot in our virtual setting. But first we need to kind of wrap our heads around how we're going to orient ourselves, reorient ourselves within this virtual world. If you take a look up here, we have primary world views right here. And you'll see a red arrow indicating which angle that you would like to view your work cell from. Once again, we have a top down, we have a left view, right view, front view, and a rear view. We're going to go back to our left view here just to bring it back. Also, with a quick mouse over, it will also give you a description if you get a little turned around or disoriented with just the red arrows on the graphics up in this user interface. So a quick mouse over will explain exactly what these are, but then once again, these navigation settings are the best way to find out where you're going. If you get really turned around here, let's say something happens here, there is an easy setback, which is the 4 arrows pointing to a center point back over here. And if you click that, that will center your object, and then you can come back and then find your view again. There are a couple of mouse shortcuts that you can take advantage of in order to manipulate your view and perspective within our Roboguide software. The first one, and probably most intuitive, is going to be a right click, which will allow you to orbit around your object or rotate around your object. So once again, this is a right click. Your left click selects your object. And so a left click on your mouse doesn't do much as far as orientation or perspective shifting. but it is absolutely vital when you start creating several different entities and objects within one work cell. Let's say a table, an enclosure, an object that you're going to manipulate or move, along with your robot, or even maybe multiple objects. That's when left click will allow you to choose different objects and different features. But once again, your right click allows you to rotate. As far as zooming in and out of your robot in order to get a closer view in your virtual world or virtual work cell, you can hold your left and right click and drag your mouse towards you or away from your computer screen. You can push it towards your computer screen and it will zoom back in. This is done once again by holding your left and right click buttons on your mouse. If you happen to have a scroll wheel on your mouse, then this makes your job a little easier, as you can just scroll away from the screen to back away from your work envelope, scroll towards the screen, and scroll a little closer towards your envelope. Once again, for our orientation, we can right click around. The point of zoom, let's say there's a very specific part of our end of arm tooling that we want to zoom in on. If I just do a uniform zoom in, I'm going to go wherever this arrow is. So if I want to see my end of arm tooling, I want to mouse over my arrow without clicking, and now use my scroll feature. And you'll notice that I'm going to scroll exactly where my mouse is mousing over at the time. So this is very helpful, especially once again if you have multiple objects that you're going to manipulate within your physical work cell. Your virtual work cell. And then another kind of a side help for you that will also really help you and help new users is when you come up to the very top and find this mouse icon in the browser bar at the very top of your user interface and click that, you'll see a 3D World mouse commands shortcut menu. So this is almost kind of like a cheat sheet, if you will, that you'll be able to click back if you ever get lost or forget one of these several commands that are going to make your job a little easier to orient yourself within this virtual world. So once again, we talked about several of these, but we have right drag to rotate view, control right drag to pan view, zoom in and out, both drag, or also a scroll wheel. We also have our move to functions, and these would be known as more advanced positioning shortcuts within our virtual world. Once again, these are all found by clicking that mouse icon.